If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, you're probably right. Hello, I'm Dea. You're seeing a different backdrop today because I'm not actually in Jakarta. I have been in New Haven for the past 4 days. I'm here for my brother's competition and I'm playing chaperone basically. And I've had the pleasure of visiting NYC over the past 2 days, during which I visited quite a number of bookstores. And based on my personal observation, I have something, if not quite a lot, to say about bookstores in New York City, which I assume are representative of what bookstores are like in big US cities and bookstores in Indonesia. Full disclaimer, I do not think that reading English books is superior to reading Indonesian books in any way. I don't think that your level of fluency in English is indicative of your intelligence. I am purely making this video because I made some interesting observations that I think greatly affect Indonesians' consumption of English books. First things first, what is Indonesians' reading habits of English books like? Was that question grammatically correct? Obviously, Indonesians read more Indonesian books than English books. A study on grade 11 Indonesian school kids actually showed that nearly 30% of them read more than 5 Indonesian books in the past 12 months, while less than 10% of them read more than 4 English books in the past 12 months. Obviously, this range is not too telling. More than 4, more than 5, you could read 20 or you could read 6. But the less than 10% versus almost 30% just tells you that there is a higher preference for Indonesian books. Another study showed that 70% of master's degree students who were involved in the study, obviously, read for necessity, as in for classes and for assignment. And this isn't 70% for necessity and 30% for pleasure. The question was, what do you read for? So it is 70% of them reading for necessity and not for pleasure. And this isn't only English books, this is also Indonesian books. So we can see that there is a lack of preference for reading amongst Indonesians in general. In another study, students who are actually in the English program, 21% of them read every day for classes, while only 10% read for enjoyment. That is kind of sad because they are doing English, they are studying English, but they don't even enjoy reading it. However, motivation-wise, another study on college students in East Java showed that there is a high motivation amongst Indonesians to improve their English skills. 64% of them who do read English books said that they read English books anyway, even though it's difficult. And this may not be mutually exclusive, but 68% of them chose the option of reading because their teachers or their lecturers supported them and encouraged them to do so. So here we know that a structured curriculum is important to encourage reading. Sorry, at this point I'm too frazzled to read the papers properly again, but almost all of these studies always showed that novels and, things you read for enjoyment come after English textbooks, as in books you need to read and bring to class, which supports the earlier hypothesis that Indonesians read English books for studying purposes. So that was all the fundamental stuff to set the context. Now on to the topic I actually want to discuss. And I'm saying a topic I want to discuss instead of hypothesis because I frankly don't know how to prove this. So maybe if some linguistics or anthropology students would like to hit me up. I think Indonesians in general share a very similar English reading preference because our reading choices are heavily dependent on the collection we have access to. And that selection is very, very limited. Let's start with the number of bookstores that actually sell English books. So Periplus and Kinokuniya are the main ones. You don't even have Kinokuniya outside of Jakarta. Periplus you have in some big cities, like big secondary and maybe tertiary cities, I think. Gramedia has only recently started growing their selection of English books. But other than that, we rely a lot on online websites such as Book Depository, Amazon for some people, and OpenTrolley. But the thing about these online websites is that you would only go on it if you already know what you're looking for. But knowing what books to read and to buy is just like brand recall in marketing, right? If you go to the bookstores and all you see is that book and this book, and it's what happens when you go to Periplus and Kinokuniya, I think you see the same kinds of books. you would fixate on those titles. So I would say that the curation of English books in our country is incredibly limited. I know I keep saying limited, but my brain isn't working right now and I can't find synonyms for it. But you know what I mean. So this explains the reading habit data that I've mentioned earlier. Literature is broad. There's a lot to choose from. And if someone finds enjoyment in certain subjects or genres that they don't have access to, then it's no surprise that people read English books mainly for class purposes instead of for themselves. So where would you find new recommendations in the first place? Other than friends, if you're not someone who's really on social media or surrounded by people with specific tastes and lifestyles, you're probably going to keep hearing the same titles again and again. Is this bad? No, it's not bad in any way. But what does this mean for us? Well, there's a world of books out there that we're geographically challenged of discovering. So many books, but flight tickets and shipping fees cost so much. Initially, this video was to justify my book spending here in New York and New Haven because, boy, I spent like a crazy woman. But fundamentally, I think I wanted to tell my fellow Indonesian friends that, bro, the FOMO is real with books. Well, what's the point of all of this? I think for one, we should be encouraging reading for pleasure. And for people who happen to be aware of certain titles and authors that are less known, I think they should definitely share those on their platform. Because sharing information and knowledge was what the internet was created for. And so let's use it for that purpose. And on that note, I'd like to thank the independent bookstores on Instagram, like There Before the Books, Fat Chicken Books, Birdfish Pre-Loved Books, and I'm sure there are many others that I'm not aware of yet, for giving us a cleverly curated collection of English books every week. I think that what you guys are doing are great, and everyone who watches this video should definitely support them. That's all, I guess. I hope that wasn't too boring. This feels like a rant video, which I thought I would never do, but I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you for watching!